Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're diving straight into Eric Schmidt's sprawling, honestly kind of mind-blowing insights from his recent talk at Princeton on the AI revolution. We are sitting right in the middle of one of the most profound shifts in human history. So let's jump right in with a breakthrough that completely sets the stage for everything we're about to cover.
We are literally witnessing the dawn of artificial superintelligence. Just think about this for a second. OpenAI had a model that generated a mathematically sound proof for an 80-year-old theorem. But here's the crazy part. It was never explicitly trained on how to do math. It just synthesized this massive web of knowledge and found deep connections that humans couldn't even see. This is the exact moment where machines start doing things we simply can't comprehend anymore.
So to make sense of this epic shift, we're going to guide you through 6 structured layers today. We'll hit the dawn of superintelligence, the massive cost of compute, the US-China AI race, open versus closed source, cyber threats in society, and finally, the future of labor. Let's get into it.
Part 1. The dawn of superintelligence, going from the AI winter to infinite possibilities. Let's start with exactly how we got here and why experts honestly believe this tech could rival the Enlightenment in its impact on our history.
It's wild to think that decades of theoretical math just suddenly accelerated. Back in the 1980s, the underlying math for deep learning was already formulated, but the hardware just wasn't there yet. We hit what was called the AI winter. But then, fast forward to 2011, Google points a system at YouTube and it spontaneously discovers the concept of a cat. By 2015, we're suddenly beating human world champions at Go, a game most people thought was way too complex for a computer. But the real turning point, the absolute game changer, was 2017. Google published a paper called Attention is All You Need. That gave us the exact algorithm to run this math in parallel across massive networks of computers.
And that computing leap is exactly what made all of this possible. Scale is everything here. To really grasp this leap, think back to 1975 at Princeton. They had the IBM 360/91. This thing was an absolute behemoth. It was water-cooled, sitting on a raised floor, fed by physical punch cards, and its memory boxes held just 1 single megabit. Now compare that to the modern iPhone sitting in your pocket right now. It is 100 million times more powerful. That exponential, almost incomprehensible leap in raw computing power is the engine driving today's AI revolution.
And if we look purely at the science, the next 15 years hold some seriously utopian promises. People deep in the industry genuinely believe AI could help us solve essentially all human diseases. We're looking at discovering completely new energy solutions that could actually tackle the climate crisis and inventing brand new materials and chemistry from the ground up. It's so easy to just focus on the doom and gloom, but we really have to celebrate the fact that AI could be the catalyst for a whole new era of scientific enlightenment.
Okay, part 2, the massive cost of compute. The physical and financial reality of AI. Because here's the reality check. Manifesting this digital utopia requires an eye-watering toll in the physical world. So the crucial takeaway here is that building out just a single gigawatt of data center power now costs a staggering $50 billion. $50 billion with a B. This is definitely no longer a low-capital software startup game. AI is an incredibly physical, heavily industrialized operation today.
To put that $50 billion figure into perspective, look at the raw power demands. The AI industry is expected to need 90 to 100 gigawatts of power by 2030. When you realize that one average nuclear reactor generates roughly 1 gigawatt of power, that means the AI industry's power demand is the equivalent of firing up nearly 100 brand new nuclear reactors over the next few years. That is an astronomical requirement for energy.
And this creates some fascinating new realities. First off, this massive data center build-out is literally adding a full 1% to US GDP growth. But it's totally maxing out the existing energy grid. The connection queues to get on the public grid are completely full for the next 7 years. So, what are AI companies doing? They're being forced to build behind the meter, meaning completely off-grid facilities powered by their own energy setups, like combined cycle natural gas or huge solar farms. They're capitalizing on America's unique abundance of empty land and the incredible, honestly almost crazy, financial backing of Wall Street to get this done.
Moving on to part 3. The US-China AI race, a geopolitical clash of ecosystems. Let's see how all of this compute and energy builds into the most pressing geopolitical race of the century between the United States and China.
We can neutrally compare the distinct strategies these two superpowers are taking. The US relies heavily on a free market for-profit approach. China, on the other hand, is operating a massive, state-backed strategy with the explicit goal of imbuing AI into absolutely everything. And when you look at speech rules, it's really interesting. The democratic setup in the US allows for a relatively open environment, which, inevitably comes with a lot of friction. Meanwhile, China's dictatorial regulation inherently restricts free speech entirely. But as a byproduct, they can unilaterally solve certain social media and algorithmic issues with just a single edict. So you have two entirely different ecosystems clashing for the exact same goal.
And the intensity of this race is staggering. The US government actually restricted the sale of advanced manufacturing chips to China, specifically from a company called ASML. The initial thought was, hey, this will secure a 5 to 10 year lead for America. But as Schmidt points out, China's intensely focused work ethic has allowed them to rapidly overcome these resource restrictions. Right now, top Chinese models like DeepSeek V4 are estimated to be within just 6 months of American capabilities. They are right on our heels.
Which brings us to part 4, open versus closed source, the battle for global influence. A massive strategic divergence is happening right now in how these two nations actually release their AI to the rest of the world. And this is absolutely crucial to understand.
Their strategies are complete opposites. U.S. companies operate their top models completely closed source. They cost hundreds of billions of dollars to build and run, so naturally they fiercely protect their intellectual property. You cannot look under the hood. On the flip side, China is intentionally releasing its absolute top-tier models for free. They're publishing open weights and open source code. Anybody, anywhere in the world, can take it, look at it, and build on it without paying a single dime. And as Eric Schmidt so boldly predicts, the majority of the models in the world will be Chinese because they're going to be free. Think about the stark reality here. If a startup in California, or a university researcher in Europe, or a developer in India is choosing which model to build their entire digital infrastructure on, they are highly likely to choose the incredibly capable, completely free Chinese model. This is a brilliant, highly aggressive play for absolute global technological influence.
Part 5, Cyber Threats and Society. The dual-use nature of artificial intelligence. Because beyond geopolitics, we have to look at how these powerful tools interact directly with our society and our cybersecurity. AI is fundamentally dual use, which means it can be used for immense good or immense harm.
A perfect, everyday example of this friction is social media. We've seen firsthand that systems designed with the business goal of fighting for your attention almost always default to maximizing outrage. Why? Because outrage drives engagement, and engagement pays the bills. It creates a total misalignment of societal and business interests, which deeply threatens the quality and, frankly, the morality of our democratic communication. AI is perfectly suited to magnify this outrage loop if we don't build proper technical and regulatory defenses.
On top of that, Schmidt warns that right now, AI makes cyber warfare offense dominant. Basically, if an AI is good at writing software code, it is naturally also very good at writing cyber attack code. This was perfectly demonstrated recently when Anthropic created a model called Mythos. It was so potent for offensive cyber attacks that they actually had to tightly restrict its release to only about 40 companies and government agencies to prevent catastrophic misuse. Right now, the attackers have the advantage, and that's a really precarious place for us to be.
Finally, Part 6, the future of labor, reconfiguring the human workforce. Let's look at what this all means for you, mapping out the impending reality check for the global workforce. How is human labor actually going to change?
The job impact isn't happening all at once. It's going to happen in structured steps. Presently, we're seeing displacement mostly in low-level customer service and soft entry-level roles. Over the next 5 years, Schmidt notes that this will climb the ladder directly into white-collar infrastructure and corporate support roles. Think HR, basic analytics, and middle management. Finally, in 10+ years, we'll see massive physical labor displacement. This will happen once robotics catch up to the software. And trust me, it is coming. Companies in China are already releasing robotic units like the Unitree R1 for just $5,000. Right now, they aren't very smart, but once you put an advanced AI brain in them, physical labor will fundamentally shift.
So economically, we are facing this massive paradox. On one hand, there's mathematical modeling suggesting AI could create an economy that actually doubles in size every single year. That would effectively eliminate absolute scarcity and create a utopian abundance. But contrasted against that is the harsh social reality. This technology will almost certainly drive the most extreme wealth concentration in human history. It's going to deeply favor a few tech centers and rapidly widen the gap between the incredibly rich and everyone else.
Which leads us to this final provocative thought. In a world characterized by extreme abundance and unstoppable AI-driven productivity, how is society going to manage those who are left behind? Because as AI continues its exponential rise, the hardest problem for us to solve won't actually be the math, or the massive data centers, or the technology itself.
The hardest problem will be how we choose as a human society to adapt to it. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope it brought some clarity to the AI revolution. Keep learning, and I'll see you next time.